What's up guys, welcome to the Perfect Twilight Shoot Masterclass. So this specific course was designed because I always get people asking me, how do I take my twilight photos? What time do I shoot them at? How do I edit them? And I'm gonna go over everything from start to finish. So we are here on site at this gorgeous $18.5 million property in Montecito, and I'm gonna walk you through everything. So let's do it. So we're gonna start off with all of the gear that I use for twilight shoots. So very simple, very straightforward. To start, we have our camera, Sony a7 IV. The primary lens that I'm gonna be using for all my twilights is gonna be a Canon 24mm tilt shift lens. Now, you don't need this lens. However, I would definitely make the investment. It's absolutely worth it for real estate, architecture, interior design, photography. Just an incredible lens. I'll do a different video breaking down everything about this lens at some point. And then obviously I have my handy tripod. This is a Gitzo carbon fiber, I forget the exact model, but I'll put a link to it. And then I also have my Arca Swiss tripod head. This is a geared tripod head, very expensive. This option, you could definitely go for it. I definitely recommend, very good build quality, but you could also go for like a Benro or a Gitzo 3-way geared head. Those accomplish the exact same thing, and I used to shoot on that myself. All right, so next up we have the drone. This is gonna be very crucial for most twilight shoots as well, to get some awesome drone footage in there. This is the DJI Mavic 4 Pro. Any other drone would also work. Every drone takes amazing photos. You can use a DJI Air 3S. That's what I used to use for a long time. DJI Mini 3 Pro or Mini 4 Pro pretty much accomplishes the exact same thing. This guy's got some photo specs and things that are, really helpful. 100 megapixel Hasselblad camera on there. But again, for most people shooting real estate, that's not gonna matter that much. So this is the full setup. Occasionally I will toss like a 24-70 on my camera when I'm shooting twilight, just to get some like verticals, some detail shots. Or if I'm here a little bit early, kind of like we are tonight, I'll just walk around and like get some super cool sunset shots and some of the lighting, which is what we're gonna do right now. So kind of just cruise around, get a few shots. If you're at the property and the light looks this cool, you might as well, right? Just always over deliver, under promise, and your clients are gonna love you forever. All right, so now we've gone through all the gear, the setup, the stuff that we actually need to bring with us. But once we get to the property, what do we have to do? I always like to show up to twilight a little bit early. Even in the summer months when it's super late, yeah, you could show up right at 8:15 when you're gonna start shooting, but you gotta set up your gear. You gotta get back in the property. If there's any issues with the gate or with someone not unlocking everything for you, or with the lights not being on, you definitely don't wanna risk missing that perfect window of light that you need to get the right twilight shots, which we're going to talk about in the next segment. So I get to the property and I'll do a quick walk around. For example, I just fixed these cushions over here on this couch because they had all blown over from the wind. Make sure that all of the lights are on in the entire property. I cannot stress that enough. Every single interior and exterior light, all landscape lighting, all up lighting. Usually that kind of stuff is on a timer. Sometimes it comes on too late, so make sure you communicate with the agent beforehand. This is going to be crucial to getting the right twilight shots. Also, you obviously want to make sure that you have a pretty decent weather day, which you can see here in Santa Barbara, we do. And lastly, you just want to make sure that you are all set up and fully ready to go, and you have sort of a mental mind map of the shots that you want to get, because realistically, we have about a 10-minute perfect window. And if we're trying to do drone, get some shots on the ground, and if you're at a big property like this one, it's pretty difficult. So it helps to shoot the property the whole day, or at least shoot the daytime shots beforehand. That way you kind of know the property in your mind and you know where you want to go at twilight. All right, and lastly, a part of our setup before we get to actually shooting is going to be camera settings. So what settings are we using on our camera? How are we actually creating the shots? So it's obviously not quite dark enough for twilight yet, but I'll just quickly go over it. So first off, we want to make sure that we're shooting every single photo in RAW format, not JPEG. Aspect ratio, I always keep that at 3:2. That's just sort of native to what the camera wants to do. It'll be full frame. It's just kind of what everyone's used to seeing online. And then other than that, the settings that are going to matter the most to us while we're shooting twilights is going to be your shutter speed, because as you can see, we're on a tripod here. Once it gets much darker, we're going to need to be at a super low shutter speed. That way we can actually expose the frame properly. The thing that we don't really want to change is going to be our f-stop. That should exist somewhere between 8 and 11 during twilight, because that's going to be the way that we keep everything on the plane in focus, and also where your camera is going to be the sharpest and where your lens is going to be the sharpest. Then ISO can kind of vary, but I usually like to keep it somewhere below 500. That way we don't introduce any noise or grain to the frame. We are on a tripod, so we can make our shutter speed as low as we want, as long as nothing in the frame is moving. You got to be a little careful about things like water or fire. But other than that, shutter speed is going to be what we want to adjust the most. Our ISO can exist somewhere around 500, maybe 640 max, but somewhere around there. So those are pretty much the only camera settings that you need to be set up for success with twilights. Okay, so one of the #1 questions that I always get asked about shooting twilight is what time do I shoot twilight at? So if I look at my phone, the weather app will tell you the time of the sunset. Sunset is at 8:14 p.m. here tonight. It's 8:10 right now, just to kind of give you an idea of where we're at. Normally the golden window, what I like to call it, which is kind of that 5, 10, 12 minute interval where the light is really good, you can get all your shots, is like 5 minutes after sunset. So there's still too much ambient light. This light from the house is not kind of blasting through like we want those windows glowing look, but what I'll usually do is about 5 minutes before the sunset time, I'll take off the drone. That way I can get some shots of the actual sunset itself and, you know, some of the pink clouds and kind of the cool views. And the drone doesn't have quite as good of low light as our camera does. So I like to kind of put that up a little bit earlier, and then I'll fly it around until my kind of golden window is coming when I want to shoot with the camera. I'll land the drone, I'll run around with the camera, I'll get all my shots from the ground that I want, and then I'll put the drone back up after the camera, and then I'll get some sort of like nighttime drone shots that'll kind of be my final shot. So we're gonna go through that sequence right now together and you're gonna see everything. First up, let's take off the drone. Alrighty, so once the drone is in the air, I like to do kind of one final check of the property. So essentially I will just kind of look around, make sure all the furniture is good to go. All the doors and windows should all be closed. It's pretty important. I see a lot of people kind of leaving doors open, a random window open and stuff. So make sure that those are all closed. Usually try to make sure that the garage lights are on. I don't think that they work in this case, but make sure that those are on because again, we can see some of that light shining through the garage as well. And then I like to just do kind of one first round with the drone. Again, we really have limited time here, so don't let yourself get carried away in terms of, you know, shooting away with the drone like you would during the day and getting every single angle. I would really just try to focus on maybe 5 to 8 hero angles with the drone. And the beauty of the Mavic 4 is that we can turn it vertical, so we can kind of go in and get some kind of unique shots like this and that sort of thing. So I'm gonna do that and then just really kind of look around. This is my first time at this property actually, so I'm kind of just doing a sweep right now as well to kind of see what I want to get when I shoot on the camera, kind of what views I want to get maybe later on the drone when I really only have a couple minutes to throw it back up. So just kind of doing some rounds right now, checking everything out. Oh yeah, this is sick. All right, so one of my favorite parts about the drones is the 2.5, or if you're on an Air 3, the 3X lens. It gives you some beautiful compression. It's truly some of my favorite photos I've ever taken have been with the drone using this lens. So when you are able to, when the property's big enough, when you have some cool views, you know, in this case, these mountains that we want to bring in behind this, you always want to try to use this lens and get as much as you can out of it, which you can see I'm doing here. I'll pop these photos up on the screen, kind of what they look like once they're done. But as you can see, we're losing quite a bit of light right now, and I'm gonna bring the drone back in. I've pretty much gotten everything that I want to get with the drone for now anyways. I'm gonna bring the drone back in, we're gonna land it, and then we're gonna grab the camera and we're gonna run around and get everything that we want to get from the ground. All right, so it is about 8:20 right now, which is about 5 minutes after it said that the sunset time was scheduled for. So as you can see, we're kind of losing a lot more ambient light now. The sun's dipping down behind the mountains. So right now is the time when we land the drone like we just did, and we come outside with the camera and we start to walk around and get our shots. Now, right now it's still a little too bright, just slightly. So I'm gonna focus on getting some shots that are less focused on looking at the house, trying to get that window glow, and more focused on looking out, because we still have some good ambient light on some of these trees and this patio and whatnot. So before we look back at the house with the camera, I'm going to try to get some shots that are focused on, you know, sort of looking away from the house. So that's what we're doing now. All right, so we are in the front of the house now. You can see that this is pretty much ready for twilight. The sun's getting blocked by these trees and everything over there. The windows are glowing. The facade still has some ambient light on it, so it's not gonna look much better than this. So we've got our 24 tilt shift on here, and we're looking straight at the front door right now. However, the 24 is a little too tight right here. So don't be afraid to climb around. Don't be afraid to move around for the best shot. Don't just set the camera down and trust it. So I'm gonna come back here, hop over this hedge, and this is gonna give me a way better shot than what I had before by just moving just a little bit. So don't be afraid to look around and actually find the better shot. Don't just settle for what you have. Trust me, it's gonna make all your shots look way better. You can find me all the time climbing around in some crazy places, and I'm constantly maneuvering my tripod around and, you know, just myself to get into all the spots that I wanna be. Another quick tip when you're shooting twilights is going to be to shoot single exposures. So a lot of people believe in the myth that you need to shoot brackets during twilight because it's too dark. That means that you're shooting the twilights too late. So when you're shooting during that kind of golden period of time when the sun is just right and it has just set, just like right now, you can actually get away with single exposures for all your twilights. Every single twilight shot I have ever taken is all a single exposure. You can see that's what I'm doing right now. I'm just taking single exposure. My camera is not in bracket mode. Okay, so one of the last things about shooting on the ground is don't be afraid to get some creative composition. So you probably get all the basic ones during the day. You got those straight ons, you got everything else. But again, right now I'm looking at kind of a weird composition. You might not really think about shooting something like this. However, we have this nice tree line we're looking right down. We're also getting the gate and the cool driveway in this shot. We have pretty much the whole front facade of the property in there as well. So this is a really cool shot. I'm happy with this shot, but don't be afraid to, you know, get way back there and get some foreground in there, get these trees, right? You want to actually showcase the property, not just the house and the windows. I love people that say tilt shift is too overkill for real estate or you don't need one. Here's where it comes in handy. I'm gonna show you on the screen what my camera looks like with no tilt shift, just at 24 millimeters, right here where it's at, looking straight forward. And then I'm gonna show you what this looks like with the tilt shift, tilted up, you know, about halfway, angled a little bit to the left. We're gonna get that focus and then take the shot. So this is what it's gonna look like tilted up about halfway. So again, we had a pretty awful composition and we turned it into a really, really cool composition just by sliding up this lens. So if you want to have your photos stand out just a little bit extra over your competition, pick up one of these bad boys. It's a hefty investment, but it will for sure pay off. All right, so it's really important while you're shooting twilights that you be conscious about what you're actually dealing with. So for this property, you can see we have this big kind of cliff or a hill that drops off pretty steep. So we can't really get a full back angle of the house with the camera on the ground, other than kind of where we just were down there, but it's kind of off to the side and the light's not great back there. So what we want to do is make sure that we're using the drone for that. So save yourself some time to put the drone back up so we can get that full shot in the back. That's kind of the hero shot of this house with the pool in the front and all the lights on now and this big patio back here. So make sure that you're aware of what you're actually working with so that you can make sure that you get the best shots for your clients. All right guys, so that is it for our twilight shoot. It's up to you if you want to put the drone back up. It's a little too dark right now and I kind of got all the shots that I wanted and the light looked okay when I was doing it beforehand. So I'm not going to put the drone back up on this shoot, but again, most of the time I will do that, just so you know. Now what we're going to do is we're going to jump into the edit together in the next module. So we're wrapped up here on site. We're going to get the gear packed up. We're going to head home. We're always going to offer to help the agent turn the lights off and turn the lamps off, cover the outdoor furniture if we need to. Again, this is why we charge high prices, because that's what will allow us to do those things and not feel rushed or not feel like we're kind of going way too above and beyond, right? It's the sort of thing that helps keep these clients sticking around with us. So I'll see you in the editing module.